Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Collective Awakening podcast. I'm Chris, along with Stephen here at the Purple Mountain, and we're doing another episode with our questions. So Stephen's created some questions of his own, and I have for one another that we're going to pick at random. We don't know what's in our questions. It's complete mystery, so we're going to go with the flow. We're going to be sharing our experiences, our knowledge. So disclaimer, which is there's no definitive
right or wrong.
Yeah, this is not an absolute. We're just passing along the lessons we've learned on our journey, our spiritual and life journey, the whole thing, the very best we can. So we're hoping that you find this inspirational, useful, or perhaps it just resonates with you, which is really important to have these conversations and talk about things. So,
really excited. I think we should start off with one of your questions.
Right, okay. Let's shuffle.
Okay, shuffle. So let's have a look at the first question. Okay, so give me an example of a powerful lesson you've learned in your life experience. Blimey, Chris. So the question is, give an example of a powerful lesson you've learned in your life experience. Wow, where can I dig deep? What is the most powerful lesson? Probably the most important lesson, and I just want to mention about that, is that you're not always aware of the lessons until you learn about what pattern you're in. And one of them was actually about greed, because one of my lessons, or one of my patterns that I was in was about being greedy. Now, I'm not a greedy person, but I've got a part of my personality that is I have to do something over and over again. So I'll go to the same restaurant over and over again.
Yeah.
And the other lesson was the big powerful lesson is to listen, not just talking. And I remember in the early podcast, and you used to say, Stephen, you're very quiet. You're very quiet. And we laughed a lot because I used to say, I've got to learn to listen. And that's something that I learned through some of my meditational practices and some of my plant medicine work. And it was really just a mirror that was lifted up to me. And that could sometimes make us feel very uncomfortable, can't it? And I know we both have experienced that before in our healing journey, if that makes sense. And we sit there and we're shown the patterns that we're in, or the belief systems. And once you look at yourself in that mirror, you're thinking, why am I doing this? Yeah. Oh, I don't like that part of myself. And it makes you feel really uncomfortable. So the greed side, and also, learning to listen, everybody can talk. While listening, you observe. And when you observe, you learn so much more about people and yourself as well.
So what would you say so you talked about that greed thing, which is, I'm sure a lot of people can understand that one. Goes on a lot in the world.
Yeah.
So what is what was the lesson, do you feel, within that? What was it teaching you at that time? What was to be?
Oh, well, the lesson that taught me was about slowing down, and that the fact that everything that I need lies within me, and that stop rushing and enjoy the journey. I think that, and it really comes down to patience, so the greed and the patience. And actually, when I slowed down, the lesson was stop rushing. Life, go with the flow, grow with the flow. So that's, for me, that was the lesson that I had to learn. And the big lesson with about listening was that you learn so much more by listening to other people. Yeah. Because a lot of the time, all I'm doing is repeating. And what I do sometimes, even in conversations, and I've had to be mindful of this, is I'm not listening to you because I want to give off with what I think already in my mind.
I think it's what comes to mind with me is knowing when to step in and when to step out. And so there might be certain conversations you might be having where you've got something that you can really input into, if it's a group chat, for example. But there may be other times where you're like, oh, I'm really learning something here that so I'm going to sit back and I'm going to listen, and I'm going to sort of absorb that a bit and see what I'm thinking about it. So I always think with this, even if you're speaking to people, because I like to think, which I hope, that I have a good gauge. You know, when you're telling somebody something and they're engaged in it, or sometimes, I'm sure we've all had this, where you're telling somebody, talking about something, you think they're switching off here, so I'll draw this to a close.
You pick it up, don't you?
And I kind of feel that's the gauge of awareness with things, of knowing when to step back or to step in.
You know, there is something else that I want to really mention, and it'll be good for you to chip in as well, because it's something that we both have actually gone through with, which is families. And actually, you know, when a question like that comes up, you're thinking of the most obvious, and actually the one that I think the most powerful lesson is actually learning about my boundaries when it comes to family, not rescuing the family and not feeling guilty for having to be there for family. You know, yes, you can be there for them, you can support them, you can help them, you can guide them, but not in the detriment of your mental health well-being.
Yeah,
and I think that was the biggest lesson. That, you know, that took me nearly 15 years to learn that.
Well, there's a very good reason, if you look back at reincarnation, why you choose your family as well. You know, there is something, we use that, I've used that word in that question, powerful lessons. So there's always powerful lessons unfolding, and family, and even those close to us in friendships, relationships, they can be a great teacher of many things.
But they are great teachers, but also what is the line? What is the line, do you think? So if you've got brother or sister, and they, for me, in any kind of relationship, is about growth and learning. And I feel if that person, and maybe I'm judging him, maybe isn't growing, isn't learning, and you keep going back to that same person,
well, it comes back to you. You don't have to have anybody in your life if you don't want to. So, I mean,
I struggled with that for a long time.
There's certain things as well where I used to always think, like with friendships, that you'd sort of make friendships forever and be quite loyal. But I've learned not that you don't, but also that some just have the time. So there might be certain soul contracts playing out, you know, things. And once that sort of contract's done, you sort of go your own way and grow different ways. And I think it's just recognizing that's, you know, it isn't forever. We don't always resonate. Just because you relate to somebody doesn't mean you're going to resonate with that person either. So it's sort of gauging what that relationship's going to be moving forward, whether I can't really be around that, or maybe I don't want to be around it too often, or I want to be around it all the time. That's important, and not to feel guilty or obliged.
And I'm sure people listening to the podcast, I think there's everybody on this planet that have experienced this, where they feel obligated just because they're family, and that might seem harsh. And I always say, you know, there's a saying that we've always accepted here at the Purple Mountain, which the door should always be open. You know where we are, but you have to be very careful not to rescue people and also be part of other people's unhealed trauma. And I feel that sometimes one of the hardest things, I think, is taking a step back from that. And I know there is a very fine line, because sometimes I feel, am I avoiding? And remember, what you avoid comes back in other ways as well.
What it comes back to is just do what you feel to be right. Because so often people know what to do, and we go into telling stories and the pros and cons and all this, when all the time you knew what you wanted to do anyway, deep down. And it's having that and not being worried about what so-and-so might think, or what this might think. Because if you follow your feelings, one way or another, it will end up right, but most importantly, be right for you.
I mean, I remember. I mean, I'll say this openly now, showing my bit of my private life and vulnerability. Is I didn't speak to my mother for about 5-6 years. Even when she died a couple of years ago. I can say in my heart, I felt no guilt, because I remember writing my mum a letter, forgiving my mum. Talk about powerful experience after a plant medicine journey, and where I got this amazing self-realization and understanding about my parents, the childhood trauma that I went through, and actually writing them a letter, forgiving them, for that, forgiving myself and forgiving them as well. But I didn't want that back in my life. And I think sometimes I do this in readings as well. And I remember my mum
what can happen as well is that I believe that there's perhaps in that situation as well is there can be certain lessons that you might have learned or certain things that you broke away from, and then people you've been involved with haven't, they're still there. So when you go, it's like going back in time for you when you're like, oh, I feel like I've moved on from that. I don't want to get caught in that spiral again. That's not what I'm not going to really enjoy being around that. And it's, and
I know I know the response I got from my mum at the time, I didn't get a positive response from her, what I would see. But then going to see a psychic and medium, she brought my mum through, and she said that my mum found a lot of strength and she understands now why I had to do that. So that's brought me a lot of comfort. And she understood that, by stepping out of that trauma, stepping out of that circle, of that continuation, that it's what we call like a karmic wheel. And actually, sometimes some of us have come back to break that karmic wheel. So there's a lot of powerful lessons. And now, maybe, can you give an example? I
didn't pick the question.
I know, I know, but I think it's really good.
Well, what do you think? I think, in all seriousness, I think you give a very good answer there to that.
Are you avoiding?
No, I'm not avoiding anything. But I think there's always powerful lessons. But I feel like, I think you've touched on a lot of good stuff there that I wouldn't want to.
And you could talk about it till you're blue in the face on that. So let's dig deep and let's have a look at another question.
Okay. So, how do I know when something is wrong and when someone is right? That's interesting. How do I know when something is wrong and when something is right? Well, I would always say trust your feelings. I feel that's very, very important in anything we do. I don't feel the gut feeling really ever steers you wrong. That's the mind, on the other hand, can make a meal out of things. It really can. But I also feel it's really important at the minute. I feel like the times we're living in, we're still part of us where there's like old archetypes of wanting the guru or the
validation,
definitive one person.
Yeah.
Which there is in religion as well, who's going to come and go, oh, here's this, here's the book, and it's everything in it that you'll ever need, and just follow me. And I feel a lot of people are recognizing we're coming out of that. But what I've learned is, I've always felt it, is there's nobody that I agree with 100%. And I follow a lot of people. There's no book I've ever read that I agree with 110%.
But you know what? And that is okay. Yeah.
So I look at it like you've got your little backpack and you take what you can. Yeah, I can understand that. I'll take that. That's helpful to me at this time. And you might revisit that information that I've read things and then I've gone, oh God, no. I can't make sense of that. And I've read it 2 years later and then I can. So everything in its right time as well. I feel like sometimes we get fixated on what's right and wrong in that way.
There's a lot. Do you think there's a lot of happening that in actually society with people saying that this is my opinion?
Well, there's no middle ground. I say this all the time.
Yeah.
It's miles this way or that way, and I always say the sweet spot's somewhere in the middle. So. But how do you know? It's what's right for you. That's really important. And what's right for you might not be right for somebody else. So that's the test to go, oh, am I going to go along with what somebody else thinks because they're saying it? Or am I going to really stick to what I really feel?
I think my trigger is I can accept or try to accept that everybody's got their own opinion. And if you get triggered by some belief system, that's something in you that you've not healed. So maybe it's time to look within and have a look at that, because truth is truth. But everybody's perception of truth is a bit different as well, and everybody's opinion. But what I get my back up with is projection. People projecting, leaders, politicians, spiritual gurus to say, look at meditation. Chris, this is the practice, this is the meditation practice that is right. You have to follow it. And actually, what you're saying, what we're saying, that is wrong.
Yeah.
It is follow your own gut, follow your own intuition.
You're making it definitive, aren't you?
Yeah.
So even if it's coming from somebody else, they're coming with a definitive version of saying that is right, that is wrong, and that simply don't work.
So do you think we're moving into this era of what we call the inner guru, looking within, and I think the truth and light and knowledge is within us?
I think it's happening. I think a lot more people. I think people are breaking away from the fear of saying to somebody, that's not quite for me, that doesn't feel right to me, and that's absolutely fine, it's absolutely fine.
Yeah. So really to that question, you can't really answer it. Nobody's right or wrong to a degree. And I think as long as you follow your heart, as long as you don't project and don't sort of harm others with your opinion, just as long as you can, everybody's attached to their opinion.
Yeah, 100%.
Aren't they? And yeah, so should we go to the next question?
Yes.
Really interesting. Is that yours or mine?
I don't know. You answer one of your own ones.
Okay. So give examples of techniques to lift your vibrations. So do you want the technical term, or should you talk about personal experience?
Whatever you think.
Whatever I feel. Right. So, well, the first thing is what is vibrations? Vibration is a frequency, is a state of being. So if I feel down and depressed, my vibration is going to feel a bit low. So it'll be a low frequency.
Yeah. How
do I feel in those moments of depression, fear, and anxiety? I don't like it very much. How do you feel in that state? Same. So I'm aware. I quickly feel aware of when I'm feeling like that. I have a bit of a bad day. I get stressed. I get triggered, and I feel down, and I don't feel great. So what do I do then to lift those vibrations? I try to. Number one is to prevent it. So do things that I try to do every single day that is going to help me prevent. And that's something that we learned through Mahana Healing here a long time ago. It's all right finding the cure, it's all right finding the medicine, is let's prevent from lowering your vibration. Let's prevent ourselves from being depressed or being anxious, being scared.
You make a very good point, but what if you're there? We're taking it from the perspective you're there. Something's occurred, or you just you woke up feeling a certain way. You're there. How then?
Right.
What would you do if say you woke up in the morning, for example, and you're like, I feel a bit tired. I'm feeling a bit low for some reasons. What would be Stephen's go-to?
Well, my first thing is I try to say, why am I feeling this way?
Yeah.
And I think being aware of it helps me, because sometimes, and I have to mention this, sometimes what I'm feeling, yes, I've been triggered. It's not always my energy.
Yeah, that's
it could be the energy of other people that I might have picked up. Now, that's not coming from a victim perspective, self-responsibility, of course. So what do? Is the best thing that helps me is I'll sit in the garden. I go for a walk or go on my bike. And actually being in nature, it's more in the fresh air, that really helps me. Now, it would be too easy for me to say meditation. Actually, meditation is not always the best way for me.
Yeah.
And again, I'm trying not to project a way that is right for everybody else, because everybody will find their own way. So nature, and also I find eating something really nourishing lifts my vibration. And being around my pets, being around my cat George and Ida, that really makes me happy. I play with them and I have fun with them, and actually being part of the spiritual work and doing my healing treatments uplift me, and meditation, it lifts my vibration. So what do you do to lift your vibrations?
I think playing music is very good. I like that. I think it's good to get, I feel like music and sound is very undervalued. When people talk about lifting vibrations, changing the vibrations of your home, I'll go for a walk. I think that's go out amongst nature. It doesn't instantly solve everything, but I feel it just clears you. Trying to get out of the mind. I think that's personally, what I would go to, even setting yourself tasks. Sometimes if you're feeling, I can feel overwhelmed sometimes, so I might write myself a list and just take a breath, take a step back, and then I feel a little bit like, oh, it's more manageable. Then I'm doing something productive. So yeah, and I think everybody's goal to is you build up a little toolkit of what works for you, and then you're able to go to those things, and that helps you not wallow. That's really important, but also it's important not to avoid if there is something there, because some things we have to ride through as well.
We have to lean into that uncomfortable space sometimes, don't we? We don't always like it, absolutely, and also collectively, we're also channeling the light into the earth as well. That's a lot of people's work at the moment.
This is where,
because you were feeling this, weren't you? We got this from Spirit about feeling, and I felt this for 3 days, feeling tired and fatigued.
Yeah, and that's where it's in. I mean, maybe a really good answer to that would be actually connecting with other people as well. Like-minded souls is a good one. Connecting as a community, then maybe something you're feeling on a vibrational level, you might not be on your own with it. There might be somebody else who's similar in a way. It just helps you to know that you're not losing the plot. and you're like, yes, this is, or, a lot can happen in these transitional times, full moons, things like that. People can have wacky dreams. But if you talk to people, you'd be surprised.
Yeah. But when you feel down, and I felt this yesterday, not that I felt down, I felt tired. It was a busy day doing spiritual work. We did readings and we did healing treatments. And then sort of coming at about 4:30, I was going into a lull and I was getting really tired. And I went home for something to eat, and we decided, didn't we, to invite some friends around the centre. And we did. I thought, I can't be bothered. And I could quite easily just go to bed and have an hour. And actually, I motivated myself to get here. And actually, at the end of the night, I felt more refreshed, more energized. So if you do feel like, I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to go out, I'm not going to meet friends, and actually just get out and do it because you feel better after for it.
100%. I mean, and I think that's the line sometimes between, of course, there's times our body might need rest, but sometimes it's like, I felt this like moving the body. It might be, walking, meeting up with friends, doing something will re-energize, and it might just energetically something that just needs to be shifted away. If you had a busy day, for example, especially spiritual work, any work really, some of the energies around you might not be yours, and it'll just help to shed them and sort of almost dust yourself off a little bit. And it's so easy to go, I'll just go to bed. But I feel like stepping into
spot on, don't isolate yourself. Reach out.
Somebody there who's gone, I've had a shit day. I've had a shit day too. I feel better now.
You're sharing. I think you made an excellent point there. So let's have a look. Do you want to choose another question?
Yes. Okay. How involved should I be in the world we live in, especially politics?
I think this is really relevant.
Politics.
From a spiritual perspective.
So how involved should I be? Well, there's two questions here, really. The first one I'll ask is, how involved should you be in the world we live in? Well, you should be involved. You're part of the world we live in.
You say that to me all the time.
You got to a degree, you've got to be informed. You've got to know what's going on, but good information as well, not programming or nonsense that gets you to think a certain way. So yeah, you've reincarnated in this world. You're part of this world for a reason. But it's important to recognize with that you're not here to save the world individually in one go, but you're part of it. I feel a lot of people get overwhelmed with, well, where do I start? And it's like, we'll start by being you, tapping into your gifts, channeling who you are, your light, being your true self. And that's like connecting dots. And it connects everywhere. And then the change comes about, doesn't it? That's the first thing. So you're part of this world for a reason. Politics is a funny one because it is quite funny because it's like a comedy show to me, really.
Puppets.
And
Puppets
the
on a
way I
string,
see it is like, it's like a drama being acted out. And if you look since 2020, the drama actually has become more, how do I put it,
Obvious.
more and more theatrical. And that's happening for a reason as well. You've got to remember, even these people that are politicians, well, they're playing out a role for a specific reason. You know, because we don't actually need all these people telling us what to do, but that might be another story.
Yeah.
So how involved should you be with politics? You got to know what's going on. What I do personally is I don't watch news programs and television because I feel that's a narrative. They're trying to get you to think a certain way or rile you up. So what I tend to do is read things, and I'll dip in and dip out and then sort of follow my feelings. A good friend of mine years ago said to me, "Why do you think they have more than one party?" And I've never thought about it at the time. And he said, to give the illusion that you have a choice. So to me, things have already been decided and are going to play out in a certain way. I do feel it's very important, no matter what opinion you have on this, is not to get angry at things, because that's not going to help anything. But yeah, we are part of this world. I think it is, to a degree, good to inform about politics, but a lot of it's theatrics. A lot of it, you know, I don't pay too much attention to it. It's like things that you hear all the time. We've heard for the last 2 or 3 years, oh, that they're going to push that button. There's always somebody with a red button somewhere in the world that's going to get pushed. And it's not happening. And I thought, I refuse to waste my days worrying about somebody who's going to push a button. I'm going to live my day and get on with what I'm meant to do. So, yeah.
But you know, can I just chip in there as well, which just come to me is, and anybody listening, and I have to remind myself this every single day, is how involved should I be in the world is how I want to manifest it. Yeah. And I want to manifest a world where we live all in peace, love and harmony, not listening to the narrative or the conditioning, the programming that they try to imprint into our energetic field, especially in politics. And they're just, like you said, the puppets. And I think you made the biggest, most important to your answer, which is don't get angry. Don't get riled up. Just and what is happening for a reason.
100%.
And I think, yeah, absolutely. So should I get another question?
Yes, go for it.
Okay. How would you describe the different ways of communicating with the spirit world? Okay. So how would you describe the different ways of communicating with the spirit world? Wow, everybody, I guess, can communicate with spirit. Me personally, how I communicate with spirit is through what I call the knowing energy, the I am power. I just have a knowing. I just have a very deep feeling, and it's very hard to describe that. It's maybe coming from my gut, coming my intuition. I just know. And that may seem to the listener arrogant, and I don't want it to perceive in that way, but I've cultivated that for a long, long time. I feel the biggest thing that helped me in that communication is trust. That I trust getting stronger and stronger all the time. Trust what you're feeling, trust what you're sensing, trust what I know. And to lean into that intuitive side, that my pineal gland, my higher self, and that's how I communicate. Sometimes I will smell spirit, I will smell tobacco, perfume, aftershave, and that will remind me of certain loved ones. I've got that in prior readings. And the other thing is hearing spirit. I've heard spirit. I've actually heard spirit in the room. And I remember when we used to live together, and I used to rent a room from you, Chris, and I was doing my hair on the top of the stairs, and you were out working. I was just preparing myself for a night out, and I heard this I think this old lady's voice cackling downstairs, and it scared the shit out of me. And this was must have been 16, 17 years ago. And I ran into the bedroom, hiding under the blanket. And I thought, how spirit are going to get me if they wanted to get me. So that was just a bit of a funny story, really. Not really funny, really. But that's how I communicate with spirits. How do you communicate? Do you have the eye?
Mine's more of a sensing, but I have seen things before, but I wouldn't say. I just get like, it's like a sense in a picture that gets built up by my senses and feelings. But I think it's really important. It goes back to the definitive right or wrong, that what you'll hear sometimes in the spiritual movement is, oh, this is the way I work, which is good. It's good to know the way that works for you, 100%. But also don't be defined by it, because things can change.
That's a very good spot.
Yeah, things can change. Who's used to say what tomorrow? And you hear that a lot. And actually, you kind of not cursing yourself, but I feel you're limiting yourself. It's good to acknowledge what works, but don't define yourself too much by what I don't do that. Well, how do you know? How do you know? So yeah,
but shouldn't you, even the one particular, we talk about people that work with spirit here in that capacity, that you should always look at growing, shouldn't you, and evolving?
Yeah, but naturally. So it's good to know, like I said, what works for you,
and not to imprint that way on other people.
Yeah, it's really important. So yeah,
good. Do you
what are we up to? One of yours. Yeah. What advice would you give to someone who's just about to start their spiritual work?
Oh, that leads on to a bit what we were talking about
this
before.
Podcast.
Watch all our podcasts, nearly 70 of them, 80 of them.
Yes. I get this question a lot, actually, when you're doing readings and people are interested in stepping more into the spiritual work. To a certain degree, it depends what area you're looking to step into. But my advisement would be meet people, watch things, read books, dip into things that you're drawn to and see what resonates with you. We are living in a time now where things are hidden away, where they would be at one time. There's a lot of different aspects of the spiritual, holistic, conscious work going on out there. Yes. A lot of places, centres, festivals, etc. And it's going with what's right for you. Just know that the best teacher that you'll ever find is the one that's inside of you, and you'll meet people that along the way that you'll have a good exchanges with, that can be good teachers and guides and show you things. And just know that your journey is totally individual. There's no
don't compare.
A, B, C, D. Don't, and never compare yourself. That's just
why do you think so many people do that? Compare themselves.
Well, I suppose I'll sort of go on the more positive aspect to that, which is I feel perhaps sometimes people can see perhaps a medium and think, well, they're working very authentic, so I would like to work authentically. But you are going to work authentic by just being you. A friend of ours years ago, I don't know if you remember, Stephen, she said, you should be the same, what they'd say on the platform when you're working as a medium, you should be the same on a platform as you are off the platform.
Same person.
So that's saying there's no different. You're the same person because, spirit are working with you for a reason, who you are. Yes, that's really important. So I think I've answered that question. And so go with the flow and experience as much as you possibly can. Not what is always the norm, because it's found in different places. Know that you're not new to the spiritual work just because you just got involved in it. You've been doing it since you were born as well. That's another
you might have more knowledge than anybody that has done it for 50 years as well.
And every bit of your work, your journey, wherever you've worked or wherever life's taken you in the world is exactly where you're meant to be on that journey. It's just maybe you're ready for stepping into that and doing your work. Particularly with mediums, something I just want to add in now is because there's big thing about working that way and expanding on that is open circles. Get yourself to open circles. They're a great or even if you know a few people who are looking to develop or sit with spirit, get a little circle together. There's absolutely nothing stopping you. Like-minded, and just sit and share messages, do experiments. Nothing stopping you doing it.
Absolutely. And I know me and you, we can say thanks to Anita and Roy, who invited us in their home circle all those years ago, that really became our foundation to a lot of our teachings, and just sitting in that
and
energy.
they started that circle from when they were in a circle in a local church, and that circle just naturally came to an end, and the group were like, oh, what we're going to do, well, we'll set a circle up at our house. It's just natural, and all progression should be natural.
Yeah.
It doesn't, it shouldn't be, well, this is the next step. Well, it is what it is for you. It's going to be.
I think it's important to sort of interject there that I try to say to people all the time, you don't work for spirit, we work with spirit. Yeah. And I think people maybe put spirit in a pedestal sometimes, and actually
there's the other thing of the spiritual in it, and I think
actually I've come to really dislike the word spiritual. Actually, in many ways,
it's under a guise of. I used to get it a lot when I was, working in the hotel still. Oh, well, that's not very spiritual, is it? You're meant to be spiritual, and it's like, well, actually, I'm me. And part of being me is that being perfectly imperfect, so I still have my things to learn. And actually, something we've come to learn over the last few years is those who mediums and healing work have actually got a lot of inner work to do. It's part of the reason why we've chose that path.
And it's probably, for me, probably one of the most hard.
Yeah,
so it's the hardest path that we're on, really.
Just because you're any sort of spirit worker or conscious worker, light work, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't mean. I had this misconception when I got involved in the spiritual work. I was like, oh, everything's going to be zen and chill. But actually, the lessons come thick and fast even more because of the door you bought.
Because do you remember the first, and we talked about this the other day, actually, the first thing that I remember being sat in circle, and the first thing happening to me, starting my spiritual work, which was I began questioning things.
Yeah.
I'll be driving down the road, I'll be doing stuff, and normally I would never think about it. I would just react or say something to somebody, and then my consciousness, my higher self, opened up. And I remember you saying, it's like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. And that was the first thing that happened to me.
Well, you start questioning
stuff, don't you? Your awareness, your awareness opens, and you begin to think, oh, I shouldn't have said that. And I think that's very powerful. I think that's something that I think probably everybody goes through. Do you think?
100%.
Yeah. So I'll choose one of your questions.
I've only got one left.
Yeah. Oh, Chris, you do ask me these questions. Right. What is a psychic attack? And what can be done about them? Right.
I'm going to sit back and listen to this.
What is a psychic attack? Well, a psychic attack, I guess, is somebody who was consciously in the physical, maybe even in the spirit, sending negative thoughts to another person. And that can be in work. It can be in family. I've seen that in family. I've seen that at work. And you can do it from across the country, across the world. You can consciously sending out negative. And some of these thoughts are not just negative, they're quite bad.
Do you think it's always conscious, or can it be done subconsciously as well?
Well, I think it comes down to intention. Mm-hmm. And I think when we talk about forgiveness, and we've talked about this many times before, it's like, oh, I forgive you. And actually, do we really mean it? Do we really deep within mean it?
Yeah.
To say, oh, I'm sorry, but do I really mean that I'm sorry? I'm going to stick my knife at the back of you. So it's again comes down to your intention. And if your intention is consciously you want to hurt somebody, not just physically, mentally, you can create a psychic attack if that person is open to that vulnerability. Now, what can we do about them is, if you're somebody who is intentionally going to do this to somebody, for revenge, or just you want to get some, hurt somebody intentionally. If a partner's cheated on you or somebody's done you something wrong, our first reaction is, I want to hurt them.
Yeah.
I've been there. I'll put my hand up. I'm sure you have, Chris. But is it the right thing to do? No, it's not, because I've come to understand what goes round comes round. Karma. That's probably a fear. Not the only reason why I don't do those things. Is to maybe use your light. Forgive people, send your love and your light. That is your greatest protection. Now, if I was getting a psychic attack, one of the symptoms, I've had this twice. I've been quite lucky, where I've had this awful headache. I think a lot of people that have had a psychic attack has had that symptom, which is this energy around the head, at the back of the head, and it's an awful negative thought, and it's horrible. Now, what I would do, what I've come to learn, is to say, I'm aware of it. Thank you. Thank you for allowing it to happen, but I'm sending it back with love and light. What I should not do is then create a psychic attack on myself to attack that other person.
Fire with fire.
Fire with fire. You said it simply, much more simply than I have. Is to send it back with love and light, and it will be sent back. It will be sent back, and then that link will be severed. Because remember, you have choice and free will. Yeah. What about you? Have you had a psychic attack?
Yeah, I've experienced.
Oh, you did, didn't you? Yeah, last couple of years ago.
A couple of different things, and I believe sometimes, I don't know, I put my neck on the line here a little bit, and I'll say I think the majority can actually be more subconsciously. As in more of not somebody sat there going, ugh, but more than not let something go, or the festering on something, and that energetically is sort of going to you. Like, do you know when you said there, I've forgiven you, but have you really? So it's still in the air, it's still being a resent still there. And
do you not think people can be really malicious though, can intentionally try to put curses on you?
But the best thing to do is, one, not fight fire with fire, but also you don't need to accept it. So for me, one of the most powerful mantras in this situation is you can do a bit of smudging or put a bit of music on, play a singing bowl, and then say, I do not accept this energy, and I send it back with unconditional love.
Yeah. And why, and I'm going to ask you, I know the answer to this, why should it be unconditional?
Because no conditions.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah. And that's mega important as well.
You've got to protect your space. So that's really important. So anything that don't belong in here, send it back to the source of it with unconditional love.
I think as well, one thing that we've both come to learn the past 5 years is that, and we learned a lot about protection as well, that actually greatest protection is your own light and love that's within you. You can shield yourself. Yes, that's
it goes back to the question earlier when you were saying about vibrations, and perhaps you're feeling something that doesn't belong with you, that's more like a psychic attack. So as well as what's been mentioned here, you can bring in those things that your go-tos are to well, this energy don't belong with me. How we're going to lift this a little bit.
But will it not also teach us, and this is the point I was trying to make, is that when that does happen, for me, is, wow, yeah, you don't appreciate it as much because you've gone through a bit of crap and you feel a little bit bad, energetically, but it's happened for a reason. What has it taught me? Giving opportunity to maybe strengthen the chinks in your armor, if you will.
Well, yeah,
because you can, because I know it's happened to me, where in the past I was quite susceptible to being psychically hijacked.
Well, the other thing is as well is that sometimes you can ask for the lessons as well.
Yes,
so something you've asked for to experience, because sometimes if we don't experience it, it's like with protection and why do I need to protect myself and all this and question, and then when we experience it we go oh that's why and I think we do recognize what belongs with us. We all know our own traits, so sometimes when you're feeling like an energy that don't belong, you go, this isn't with me, this. and then you can do something about it. That's really important. But it's important to.
I think you made an excellent point there. Just to finish off that question is, we're talking from a place. Yeah, it happens. Self responsibility, personal response. It's happened for a reason because, like you said, you've asked it for it to happen.
Yeah, and that takes you out of
the victim
being
side.
the victim. That's so important because you're not the victim, and again, even looking at the compassionate side, it doesn't mean by any means you have to accept it, but the person who's sending this out might not be in a very good mental state themselves, so actually they might need that love more than anybody. It's not your job to rescue them, but just by sending it back with unconditional love and not fighting fire with fire is really important.
Excellent. Oh, that was a very good question. You could actually talk for another hour about that. Maybe for another podcast, maybe. You're welcome. You're going to go into song then a while. You're welcome. Right, do you want to choose another question?
Yeah.
I think you're going to choose a really good question.
Okay, what is the best way to navigate through this difficult time of misinformation and social media and TV, etc.?
Well, we touched upon it a little bit before.
Why am I getting all the political and television? I'm getting all this stuff. This is interesting because, first of all, television, social media, anything that doesn't nourish you, that's really irritating, lowering your vibrations, making you feel angry, making you feel like crap, don't watch it. You've got the choice. You've got the choice. Remember that. Take back your own power. You don't have to watch anything. You don't have to. Everything needs your participation. Okay. There are other ways than television of getting information as well. TV has a lot of programming in it, especially the news, things like that. I don't watch the news anymore. Not always been like that. That's the way I am now. There's no information that's any good for me in there. It's just storytelling. So I get my news elsewhere that I feel is more factual.
So where do you get your information from then? Would you say? So if you talk about personal experience.
Depends. Sometimes when I'm talking to somebody we connect with a lot of people in different parts of the world. And something I did during the lockdown years 2020 when we were talking with people on Zoom, like, how are you doing? I go, what's going on in your country? Getting straight. You get it right from the
You're
place.
not getting through filtered version.
Or they know other things to be informed. So that's really important. Again, going back to follow your feelings with everything.
You read a lot of podcasts, don't you? You listen to a lot of podcasts.
Yeah, there's a lot of podcasts, and some, it comes back to this right or wrong thing. What resonates with you and what doesn't. There's recently been. I mean, I like watching some of Joe Rogan's one, and there's recently been one with Terrence Howard,
a very big,
and it really stirred up a lot. And I can understand all angles of where people are coming from with things, but it's simple. If you can make sense of something, good. If you can't, or it's a bit too much for you, just leave it. Don't worry. But I think sometimes what social media is, in a way, it's good because there's a lot of freedom to have a platform. But it means everybody with a platform can lead sometimes people getting on the soapbox a bit. I've just, a little bit. And it's good to share opinions. It's good to put things out there as well, but it's, again, looking for that one size fits all when it isn't. Sometimes with friends, I'll discuss, I'll watch this podcast. Oh, I didn't really like that one. Oh, I did. So it's what's right for you, but know that you've got the power to navigate what you watch and what you don't. And it's good to take breaks off social media as well, because it can be very, very enticing.
Do you think, though, as well, and we were talking about this earlier, weren't we, in the circle during the week, that, I would say the things that I believed in 10 years ago, 5 years ago, in nearly every aspect of society, the stuff that we've believed in 5 years ago has really been mistruths, has been placed a lot on lies. And I feel why I sort of asked that question was there's a lot of things that we've all believed in for so long. And actually it comes down to truth. Truth is being revealed. And I think everybody's given an opportunity to express, to question. I think that's what gets my back sometimes, is that well, no, I believe this, or this is what this is, and you can't question that.
Yeah.
And I think we should all have the ability to question, to this is our human nature.
Well, I think it's really important
is,
and when we spoke to some people a while ago, and we were talking about 2020, 2021, and it's really interesting what they say, because now I'm not for 1 minute saying that scientists and people like that don't have their part to play, and good science, authentic science, I would say, authentic anything. But just because me, Chris, here, that I'm not a scientist, doesn't mean that I can't have an opinion, a thought, or feeling on anything, because I've still got a brain. I've still got my gut feeling. So, yeah, I can have that and go along with it.
You've got your opinion like everybody else.
Just as long as I'm kind of responsible for how I share it. So I'm not going, I've got this, and I'm just going to throw that out to people. That's a different thing.
Shouldn't project then what you think.
Yeah, you shouldn't project, and I think that's really important. That with misinformation can come from all angles, because I'd like to think I wouldn't share anything that I wasn't fully understanding myself, and I think that's very important. That you should have quite a good understanding of something before you would bordering on teaching or sharing, unless you're putting it out in a format of being open, kind of like we're doing now. We're just opening it up and open these things, but we're living in a time we're quite oversensitized, and I think actually one of the most powerful ways of navigating through them is to not have too much of all that, because a lot of it is very artificial. And to actually spend time in the real world. How many times do we say,
don't go down that rabbit hole?
Where they're interviewing people on telly, and I was like, I don't know anybody that thinks like that.
Yeah, it's a narrative.
So get out there and talk with people, have conversations with people. You learn a lot more, I think.
I think coming to close to this question is that a lot of the misinformation, I feel, I'm playing the double-edged sword here, is the parrot knowledge. Is yes, our job is to question knowledge, question what's out there in society, what the media is saying, social media, TV, even ourselves. It's how we learn. But also there's a part that people just believe just for the sake of it.
Yeah.
So for me, I call it parrot knowledge, which is I'm only repeating. I'm not questioning what has been said. I'm going to take on board that knowledge. I'm going to repeat it. Yeah, and actually, if somebody's, and I say to people, where have you got that from?
Well, that's what I was saying earlier, and I think that a lot of people would say that kind of, they'd say, well, you just saw that on the internet. And it's a good point in ways. Just say if I've watched a podcast, and what I do, I can only speak for myself personally, is if something like, oh, that's really interesting, I didn't know that, and then I will actually go to another source and sort of sit with it, get a good idea of it. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, what you're talking about is where somebody might just watch something and then I'm instantly repeating it.
Yes,
there's a lot of that happening. Not done my own research or done any evaluation of it. And I think you can do that within your own sort of realms. But I think once you start throwing it out as a teaching to other people, I think that can be.
But then you've got then you've got the other argument as well, where, okay, then Stephen, I'm saying, right, let me question that. Oh, you can't question that. You can't question the lead. You can't question the doctor. Yeah. You can't question the doctor. The doctor knows, or the scientist knows. And actually, science, medicine changes. It changes all the time. It evolves. Well, archaeology changes. We unearth things all the time.
If you're asking something that's crazy, then it'll be proved that way one way or another. But I think nothing wrong with having the conversation, is there? I think as long as it's kept reasonable in a respectful way, you can have some really good conversations and exchanges. And I'm a great believer in the term agree to disagree. Sometimes nothing wrong with it. nothing wrong with saying, "Oh, that's your view, that's mine." That's fine. That's absolutely fine. It's the search for the definitive, isn't it? The definitive right. And it's.
You know what I think it is? I was thinking about this before. It must be part of an old archetype of part of the ego to feel the need to be right.
Well, it is,
isn't it? It's the ego
because actually you learn more by getting things wrong, really, most of the time.
But then, sorry to say, there is no right or wrong.
Yeah,
it's a life path, and this is why we say to ourselves all the time: yeah, you stumble, you fall, pick yourself back up, you brush yourself down, you learn from it, and you move on.
Yeah.
So there is no right or wrong. It's how we learn. But we should create a space, an open, non-judgmental space to have these conversations.
Yeah. It's interesting question, that navigating, and I think you just don't. With anything, don't get caught in a trap with things.
Have you trapped yourself in before? Do you think in the past caught yourself into things?
No, but I've maybe watched things and then gone, "Oh, I wish I hadn't watched that. It's not really done anything for me." Or I think a lot of people can associate with like scrolling on different forms of social media, and it's very hypnotic in a way.
Yeah.
And it's meant to be, but that's again another story. But just step back and do everything in a good balance. There's more and more people spending time, talk to people in the person. And I think that's what, I do think this, I don't know if I'm going to sound what I'm going to sound like, but here it goes, is we had two ways of communicating at one time. It was either knocking on somebody's door or ringing the phone, which there was like one phone in the house. Ooh, who's that ringing? And everything moves on and evolves. Of course it does, but there's so many forms of communication now that it actually takes us, it's important to meet in person and talk with people in person.
And my last, you spot on, my last thing in there as well, and I don't know why it's just come into my mind, I might be spirit impressing me to share this. If you think, and I don't think about this actually, I don't know why I've not thought about it, actually probably 90% of this stuff that is spewed out on social media and TV is actually not even important.
Yeah.
What a waste of energy. What a waste of information. Is it nourishing? Is it? Yeah. And we get entangled ourselves into this web, don't we? We all do. What's this happening in pronouns and labels and vaccines? And actually, does it really matter? It doesn't. Yeah. So should we do the last question?
Final one.
Final question. Okay. How beneficial is sound healing and why? Well, I'm going to promote sound healing to the hills because it's one of the first healing modalities that I started to connect with. Apart from the mediumship and trance mediumship, it was actually sound healing. And maybe perhaps as part of my divine purpose, I love singing bowls. I love the power of sound and how sound can really heal, or it's not heal, assist in the self-healing process. Now, how beneficial? Wow, come and try it. Experience wherever you're around the world, or in England, or whatever county, city you're in. There is so many sound healers now stepping into that realm. And I feel that's happening for a reason.
Yeah, it's what's needed.
It's what's needed at the moment. It's altering or assisting on altering the frequency.
Yeah.
So we talked about earlier on about feeling depressed or anxious or sad. You surround yourself with music sound healing. That's the most obvious. But also go into a gong bath or sound bath, or a Zen sound bath, an Egyptian sound bath, that we offer here at the Purple Mountain, is amazingly beneficial for the nervous system, particularly, in my opinion, with the big mental health issues that is happening in the world. So many people are trapped in the mind, and so many people have issues with mental health issues, problems, and sound healing really, really helps in the self-healing process of the mind, of the body, and the emotional body as well. So I would talk about sound healing to the hills. If I had £100,000 now, I would spend £100,000 on sound bowls, sound healing equipment, because it's amazing. I've experienced sound healing nearly 100 times. I'm a sound healing practitioner and I experience sound healing. What about you? And what's the benefits you've experienced?
Well, I think sound healing, singing bowls, gongs, chimes, whether it's one-to-one or sound baths, it's a vibrational frequency that's extremely powerful, that can clear negative energies, toxins, shift within the body, gain clarity, peace, total relaxation, which I feel sometimes gets forgotten. It's like when people have had a sound healing treatment, I feel so woozy, and it's actually you just totally relax. So it's very, very powerful, and that's, like you said, that's why there's an abundance of it at the minute, because it's where it's needed. Things come along when they're needed the most.
I remember watching. I don't know if the program's still on Netflix. It was like a 6 or 7, 8-parter documentary about sound healing, and it's actually not something that is very new. The ancient Egyptians, we talk probably about tens of thousands of years, used the power of sound, quartz, to help realign the frequency. With every disease, there is a frequency that will heal that disease. Hence why I feel, talk about frequencies, with plants. With every illness somebody suffers with, there is a frequency, a plant that can assist you in that healing. And that's the same in singing bowls. We talk about chakra realignment. We talk about crystals. Now we're getting into some of the metal and alchemy part of sound healing, which is going to be an amazing part of the Purple Mountain in the future. So I hope that you've enjoyed sharing some of our wisdom. I hope it's made sense and it's nourished you. Please leave some comments. Please share and subscribe to our channel on YouTube and other platforms. And it'll be amazing to connect with you. We're going to be hosting lots of other podcasts in the future, some other guests that we're going to invite. So on behalf of myself, Stephen, and Chris, thank you for tuning into this Collective Awakening. Have a lovely, wonderful day wherever you are. Thank you. Goodbye.